Hey, you guys, I manifested my way out of a bad financial situation and living situation that I was in last year. This is how I did it using Dr. Joe Dispenza's walking meditations. So, let me give you a little bit of background. I'm self employed and there were changes in the industry and I just wasn't getting any work in. Last year in Miami there were these torrential rains that flooded my car and my car was totaled. So I was without a car for almost a year in Miami where you absolutely need a car. So I was really isolated at home and I had a high mortgage to pay and also my HOA payments had increased as well as other things that I needed to live. Just to give you a bit of an idea of my state of mind back then, I was so full of fear and anxiety, I couldn't sleep. So, it was really frightening. And I had been doing Dr. Joe Dispenza's meditations since 2021. And I found myself unable to do sit down meditations because I would be sitting there trying to meditate and an hour would go by and my mind would be just going like this all over the place. So it was really, it was really bad. It was very uncomfortable. There were also other things that came up. I was being barraged with stuff in this period of time. So I decided that I was going to sell the house and leave Miami and move to Orlando. My best friend was my realtor, and we put the house up on the market in January. So there was a buyer that was interested, but that fell through for other reasons. And the house continued to be on the market for a few months. In that time, I actually got some work in. So I was able to, get some work and bill a client. And this is my first manifestation of this series. So when I complete work, I usually send an invoice, and this client had 45 days to pay me. Contractually, they had the right to pay within a period of 45 days. The problem was that I needed to pay my mortgage, and I didn't have enough to do that, plus the HOA and all that. So I started to become really anxious and unable to do sit down meditations. I had this thought, you know what, I'm going to go and do walking meditations because it would get me into my body and out of my mind a little bit more. About halfway through that, I started to calm down. I started to really feel more positive and grateful. And by the time I was done, I felt so great. I lived in a complex, in a condo complex, leaning against the wall in one of the buildings, and I was like, wow, I genuinely feel really abundant. And then I thought, I just had this flash of me opening my mailbox and finding an envelope with a check in it in there. And then I thought to myself, actually, I feel so abundant that maybe there's a check there right now. And then on the way back, I opened the mailbox and guess what was in there? It was the check 10 days after I had submitted the invoice, not 45 days. So I was able to cover my expenses for a little while longer. We finally had another buyer. And finally, about a little over a week before closing, this big roadblock came up and they almost backed out. My best friend slash realtor was freaking out because she was like, these guys are going to back out. And I started to panic because I couldn't make my next mortgage payment. So the thoughts started coming in, oh, what if they come in and foreclose on me, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, okay, stop. I have to go do my walking meditations. So I went out, I started doing my walking, and about halfway through, the music, the instruction from Dr. Joe, and the walking and being in that brainwave state brought up these emotions of gratitude and calmness. I didn't try to imagine this. It just came up in my mind. I saw myself in my new car with my best friend next to me, driving up the Florida Turnpike towards Orlando. I saw a sign saying Orlando. And I look at my friend and I said, dude, we did it. I'm free. And I felt so joyful and so grateful. It felt so real. I felt the feeling was so strong. I latched onto that feeling and I wrote it out through the rest of the meditation. And then when I got back to mundane life and all those anxieties and thoughts started to crop back up again, I kept remembering that scene that came up. It would just like flash in my mind again, and I would get those elevated feelings all over again. So I did this for several days straight to the point where I was actually able to fall asleep calmly and peacefully like a baby. And I slept through the night for the first time in a while. And when I woke up the next day, my friend called me and she told me we're moving forward. And I was out of that house in a week. I stayed at her house while I shopped for a car. There were certain things that I wanted in a car. So I had spotted this car that was really light green and I really loved it. And it had all the features that I wanted. I had actually seen it in a parking lot, so I snapped a photo of somebody's car that looked like the one I wanted, and I kept it in my phone. So what I did is I started doing the walking meditations again, and every time I needed to boost my emotions or I needed to have some kind of a reference point that I can anchor into, I would open my phone and look at the picture. And it worked great. So I did this for several days, and finally, there was a car that came up in my search. It was a little more than my price range, and because I was looking for a used car, and it had the features that I wanted and then some because it turned out to be the highest trim. So I had been watching these videos on how to negotiate the out the door price without ever having to step into a dealership. And thing is, it would be the first time that I would be doing this. So I was really nervous and I went out and did one more walking meditation and I just felt myself being confident and actually getting this car. And I called them. They sent me the worksheet. I'm like, hey, that's great, but you need to take off these extra charges. And if you take these off, I'll be over there tomorrow to pick up the car. And next thing you know, the sales manager calls me and she's like, we'll send you a new worksheet. And I was like, all right, see you tomorrow. So I took the train up and I got my car. The car that I used to have that got totaled had dual transmission. So that means you can, go from automatic and you could switch it to manual. I just really liked it. It was a feature I liked. And also, it's also a lot of fun to drive. I was thinking how much I was going to miss it. And I told the sales guy when I went to test drive the car before I took it home. It turned out that the car had that feature. So I had the car. The last urgent thing that I needed to manifest was an apartment. This is something that I was dreading. I was dreading actually getting stuck in a situation that did not fit me and I was going to be really uncomfortable. I think color is really important, and I didn't want to get stuck in an apartment that had gray walls and absolutely no carpet. So it had to be some kind of, vinyl plank flooring or whatever, wood floors. I needed to have washer dryer, at least accessible in the, not, it could be in the unit or in the, somewhere on the grounds. And I needed to have closet space. And the most important thing is that I needed storage space, but I needed to be able to have some access to the outside because I really need to be in nature. Also, I really valued my privacy. When I was leaving my house, when I was handing the keys over to the new owners, I was remembering how much I appreciated the privacy I had in that house because we had concrete floors and I could jump up and down. Nobody would hear me. And I could watch TV really late at night, not worry about bothering the neighbors. And also I didn't hear any noise from them. And it was great. I didn't have, people in my business and I didn't, see their business. So I just love the quiet and privacy that I got there. And then I just let it go and I handed over the keys and forgot about it. So I focused on what I wanted and what I wanted out of the situation and out of the apartment itself. And I kept looking for something that matched. Then I saw this apartment that just came up in my feed. And the first image was this beautiful glass wall looking out towards this really beautiful tropical garden. And I was like, whoa. But I said, no, I can't because it doesn't fit my needs. It's beautiful, but it's impractical. And what I did is I actually saved that photo onto my phone as a reference point because I wanted something that gave me that feeling. It had those qualities of having this beautiful view of nature and that it was modern and it had a lot of light coming in and things like that. So I did the same thing. I started doing walking meditations and I would pull up that photo as a reference to basically incite these emotions and these images in my mind. And then finally, I decided just to take a trip up to Orlando and go look in person. 3 days in, on that Sunday, I was meditating, doing a sit down meditation in the Airbnb. And then all of a sudden, I get this flash. It was that image of that apartment. It was that glass window with the garden. And I just dismissed it because I was like, no, I'm not taking it. I can't. It doesn't, it's not right for me. And then it flashed in my mind again and again, maybe like 4 or 5 times. So then I noted it. And then when I came out of meditation, I thought, I don't think it's a coincidence. There might be something with this apartment. Maybe it's being shown to me as a sign because it'll lead me to something else. So I made an appointment and I went to go see it. Sure enough, it did not fit my need. When I went to see it, it was part of this sprawling condo community. And I just really loved it. So this idea occurred to me, what if this place has more condos for rent? I decided to run back to the Airbnb and do a search. And the first thing that came up was this apartment. So when I saw the pictures, I was stunned because it was above and beyond what I had seen in that other apartment. I went to see it, loved it, walked around the lake, and I felt really at home there. I felt like it was right. So I went to apply for it, and the next morning I woke up super early, went for a walking meditation. And it was really good for me because it calmed my nervous system down. I was able to get my mind back under control and feel good about it because, after all, when there's all these possible outcomes, why am I focusing on the worst one? So as I drove back to the Airbnb, I pulled into the parking spot. And as I'm pulling in, the song came on that I never get to hear because it's pushed down in the playlist. And the lyrics were saying, it's all working out for me. It's all working out for me because I believe it. I felt like it was a message to me because I just never get to hear anything past like a certain point in that playlist ever. And as I'm marveling over this, I get a notification on my phone. It was the landlord requesting my deposit. So I got the place. So anyway, I'm literally in a completely different life than I was just a few months ago. So this is what I learned from this whole experience. So the first thing is, if you're in a bad situation, yes, you can get out of it, and it can happen pretty quickly. I can't believe how fast things turn around for me. The second thing is, I used to think that if I was trying to manifest something and I had negative feelings, I would think, I'm ruining my manifestation. Even though I was having all these negative thoughts and emotions for a large part of the time, I would think about the emotions and the images that I felt and saw during my walking meditation, that image of me in the car with my best friend. And it would bring up those feelings and I would relive them throughout the day. Even though it was less time than the negative stuff, it was still had such a powerful impact that it actually turned things around. So there's something about those elevated emotions that are super powerful. It's a super powerful energy. It's almost like whenever I would see that in my mind and I would feel those feelings, I would feel something engage, some cascade of energy got triggered. The third thing is that it's not about making yourself imagine something or feel something that you just don't feel. That's when you try to do that, when you try to envision something or you try to feel something, it's almost like the action of the energy is going outward, like it's going outward to, grasp an image or grasp a feeling. And this was something more that was passive, and it arose naturally from the state I was in while I was doing the meditation. It was something about the brainwave state I was in. I had kind of let go, and I had gotten more into my heart space. It was like basically all that coming together to inspire these feelings and images to come up on their own. Being in this passive, kind of open state where these images and sceneries will come up. So that's really important, because I know that a lot of people are like, oh, I'm trying to envision, or how do you feel these elevated emotions? It's, you just allow it to come up. Don't focus on it. Don't try to grab them. I would say that the other thing is about getting downloads. If you have this really strong image that's popping in your mind, or like a strong knowing, or if it comes in a certain way, don't dismiss it.